Hi everybody. So in the previous class we completed the chapter plant kingdom. Okay. So before that chapter plant kingdom, you learned the biological classification chapter. So in that biological classification chapter you came to know that organisms, the diverse group of organisms are classified based on different characters, especially with respect to their similarity and dissimilarity, how the organisms are similar. The similar organisms are grouped into one category, and based on the dissimilarity, some organisms were shifted from one group into another group. Like that the classification system was evolved. Okay. So starting from 2 kingdom classification up to 6 kingdom classification, you studied how the organisms are get classified. At the same time, in the plant kingdom, you studied the special type of classification system with respect to plant. Okay. So for the classification of the plant, scientists or the naturalist, previously they are called as a naturalist, and nowadays we call them as scientist or a taxonomist. Okay. So they classify the plants specially based on how they look like. Okay. So based on their appearance, the organisms were the plants were basically classified into herbs, shrubs, trees and climbers. So that you studied. Okay. So here not only that artificial system or a natural system of classification. So in present day system also, that advanced system like a phylogenetic system also, that plant character, how it appears, how it look like, that was also considered. So in all the systems like artificial system, like a lineage system, or natural system like a Bentham-Ducker system classification, and phylogenetic system like Engler and Prantl and Takhtajan and angiospermic phylogenetic group, like that whatever the system of classification is, they consider basically how the plant is look like. Okay. So external appearance of the character, external appearance of the plants were considered to classify the plants into different taxonomical categories. Different taxonomical categories like, as you know, division, order, class. Sorry, let me tell me in the order. So kingdom, then plant kingdom, it is divided into divisions, then come to the class, then order, then family, then genus. In all these taxonomical categories, the plants which are grouped into that particular order or the grouped into particular class, they have a unique characters. They have a special characters. So those special characters, most of the time, we can observe it through our naked eyes. Okay. So based on that external appearance only, we can classify the plants into different taxonomical categories. Okay. So that study of the branch of science that deals with the study of that external feature of plant is called as morphology. Okay. So based on that morphological characters, based on morphological triads, we can classify the plants into different taxonomical categories. Okay. So let us start the new chapter, morphology of flowering plants. Of course, we are dealing with the flowering plants only. Okay. So the chapter name is morphology of flowering plants. Okay. So morphology of flowering plants. So why morphology is important? Because when you look into the plants, when you look into the nature, you observe the plants, how it look like, whether it look like herbs or shrubs or tree or climber, or whether what type of branch it shows, how the shoot system shows, how the leaves are, what are the shapes of leaf, how the leaves are arranged, what is the structure of a flower, so how the flowers are arranged to form an inflorescence, what is the nature of a fruit, how the fruit color, what is the shape of a fruit, then inside seed, how the seed is, what is the nature of a seed. Like that we can categorize based on that external appearance itself. Okay, that external appearance, the study of that external appearance of the plant is nothing but morphology. Okay, so morphology is nothing but the study of external feature. Is the study of external features. Okay, so features, then external feature. So how it look like externally, ಓಕೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆ, ದ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಆಫ್ ಫಿನೋಟೈಪಿಕ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಬೈ ಅನದರ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಫಿನೋಟೈಪಿಕ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಫಿನೋಟೈಪ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ ಇವನ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ದ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಯಡ್ಸ್. The study of traits, all these are have the same meaning like a study of morphology. So how the plant look like, how the branching is, how the leaf is, like that we can consider all the appearing characters, external appearing characters, so under the branch called morphology. So morphology is the branch of biology, a branch of botany that deals with the study of external feature of plants. Okay, study of external features of plants. Okay, and even we can use the same term for animals as well. Morphology, study of external feature of animal is a morphology also. Okay, so then what are all the characters you are going to study under the morphology? And one more thing, we are going to deal with only flowering plants. Okay, so flowering plants. So these flowering plants are nothing but angiosperms. Okay, so angiosperms, this comes under the group called phanerogams. And remember, and we are not going to deal with the morphology of lower plants like algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms. And all these up to gymnosperms you studied in the last chapter itself under the plant kingdom. Okay, but here we are more concentrated on flowering plants, because on earth most abundant plants nowadays, they are flowering plants only, the flower bearing plants. Okay, so they are phanerogams. Flower na kani kaanuvanta structure iruvanthaddu, so those are called the flowering plants. Okay, so when you look into any type of flowering plant, so what are all the first thing you notice when you look into the any kind of flower? So what is the first thing you can observe there? So you are going to observe the shoot system. This is the first thing you can observe with respect to the plant morphology. Okay, then a shoot system. This shoot system consisting of, ನಮಗೆ ನೋಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಏನು ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಶೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇದು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ನಾವು. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಶೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ದಟ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸಪೋಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್, ಆನ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಸಮ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಈ ಥರ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಾಂಗ್, ಓನ್ಲಿ ಒನ್. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. On the branches or on the main stem you can observe leaves. Okay, ಆ branches ಮೇಲೆ you can observe the leaf. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ದೆನ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದ ಲೀವ್ಸ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ you can observe in some plants, not always in all plants. Some plants immediately you can notice the beautiful part of a plant, angiosperm plant, it is a flower. You can observe the different colored flowers. So different color agiro flowers na you can observe. Okay, so flower observe ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. And sometime you can observe the presence of fruit as well. So flower ಆದಮೇಲೆ sometimes you can observe the fruit as well. Fruit ಅನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Okay, at the same time, so you can even observe sometimes the seed ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಿದ್ದಿರುತ್ತೆ plants ಇಂದ. Even you can observe seed also. So ಇದರೊಳಗಡೆ seeds ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Sometimes the seeds are get split open and they fell into the soil. We can observe that. Okay, so these are all the external appeared characters or external features you can observe immediately if you look into the any kind of plant. okay, angiospermic plant. ಈ ಥರ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಫೀಚರ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ವೇರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ. If you uproot the plant, if you pluck the plant completely from the soil, so some structures which are present inside the soil, these structures are nothing but roots. Okay, one is the shoot system and another one is root system. Okay, so these are the basic morphological characters you can observe in the plants. Again, these characters have different structures again. So in the root system, either based on the type of root system, we can discuss it later. That is fibrous root system or tap root system. We can observe when if you pluck the plant from the root. That's why it is called as uprooting. Okay, so uprooting plant and a root sameta ಹೊರ ಕೀಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. Okay, so when you uproot, then only you can observe some structure called as root system. Okay, and this shoot system and the root system, they have a specific role. They have a specific role. So what is the major role of root system? If you call, the major role of a root system is to hold the plant into the soil firmly. That is called as anchorage. We can discuss it later. Then shoot system, it bears all these structure that helps in photosynthesis, that helps in seed production, and of course it gives the whole shoot system, especially this leaves part. It is very much important since it produces the oxygen. Okay, so that all living organisms that are required for survivability, okay, that is produced from this shoot system only. Okay, so this is about the very basic thing about the morphology of flowering plants. So in this chapter you are going to learn in detail starting from this root system. So types of root system, as already told, root have only one function we call. Okay, it has anchorage. Apart from that, roots have some other functions also. They show some show some different structures called as modifications. So by using that modification, it performs different kinds of function that we can study in detail. Okay. At the same time, the shoot system, like what is the normal function of stem, and it get modified into different types, and different types of stem perform different types of functions. Then leaves, of course, the normal function for photosynthesis. Apart from that, some leaves have different structures or different modifications. By using that modification, it can perform different types of functions. Then the flower. Of course, when you look at the plant, the beautiful part, it get attracted is the flower because of its vivid color. Okay, it has various types of color shades. Okay, so the main function of the flower is helps in reproduction, sexual reproduction of a plant. Okay, and these flowers have different structures again, like a calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, and they have a different pattern of arrangement. They have a different numbers, and that arrangement appears very beautiful. Okay, so you can study different types of that arrangement of a flowers like that. And then fruit. So technically, fruit is which especially meant for reproduction, which produces in the angiosperm. That is, production of fruit is a unique character of this flowering plants. Okay, so these fruits, when you use the term fruit, we can imagine a lot of fruit we ate. Okay, so that the fruit are of different kinds based on how they are going to develop. Okay, so different color, different taste, everything is there. So we can classify that fruit into different categories. We can learn that fruit types. Then the seed. Of course, seed is the basic food for human especially. Okay, so all the humans are depends on this seeds for their nourishment. Okay, ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಫುಡ್ಡನ್ನು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೀಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಸೀಡ್ ನೋ ಫುಡ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಅನ್ಬೋದು. ನಾವು ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ಮು ಲೀವ್ಸನ್ನ ತಿನ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಫ್ರೂಟ್ನ ತಿನ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಇವನ್ ಸೀಡ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟಾಪಲ್ ಫುಡ್. ನಾವು ತಿಂತಾ ಇರೋಂಥ ಮೇಜರ್ ಫುಡ್ ಗ್ರೈನ್ಸ್ಗಳೇನಿದೆ, ಗ್ರೈನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ರಾಗಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಭತ್ತ, ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಜೋಳ, ರಾಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಮೇಯ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ದೆನ್ ಪಲ್ಸಸ್, ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನು ಪಲ್ಸಸ್ ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಸೀಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸೀಡ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಮೇಜರ್ ಫುಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ಗಳಿದೆ ಏನೇನು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸೀಡ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ, ದಟ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಮಾರ್ಫಾಲಜಿ ಆಫ್ flowering plants. Okay, so along with that you are also going to study some families here. Okay. So based on that characters we can classify the plants into families. So under the taxonomical hierarchy, okay, family anta barutte, adralli you are going to learn the characters of 3 families. Okay, so of course according to Benthamandukar around 240 families were there. Okay, adralli ನಾವು ಓದುವಂಥದ್ದು only 3 families. So you are able to identify based on this morphological features only. Based on this morphological features, you are able to distinguish between the families. Okay, so that is the reason why morphological study is important, to classify the plants into different families. Andre easyagi ನಾವು family level ಗೆ identify ಮಾಡಬಹುದು based on certain characters. Okay, you are going to learn that characters, how you can differentiate from one family to another family with respect to their different characters. Okay, especially with regarding morphology. Okay, yeah. So this is about the brief introduction regarding the chapter morphology of flowering plants. Okay, so let me look into the detail with respect to the parts. Of course you are already learned that in your previous years. Okay, so in your high school classes you studied the morphological characters of the flower plant, how it look like. Okay, so let me explain it by taking an example of one small plant. Okay, if it is considered as a stem. Okay, so this is a stem. Let me take this is the soil part. This is above the soil, and below the soil again you can observe the continuity of this structure. Okay, so this structure which produced from directly from that stem look like. Okay, so I will explain it later how these structures are different and how they are going to produce. And this root, the main root, this is called a tap root. So this is called let me write primary root. This is called primary root, and this primary root shows some branches. Let's say, so these are the branches of that primary root. Okay, so these are the secondary roots, you can call them as. Secondary roots, and these secondary roots again shows some branches. ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So this branching is termed as, ನೋಡಿ ಈಗ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. These roots are originated from secondary roots, so they are termed as tertiary roots. Okay, so these are tertiary root. Okay, so primary root, the primary root shows the branches, those branches are secondary roots. On the secondary roots again branches are appeared called as tertiary roots. Okay, this whole thing together forms the root system. Okay, then above the soil you can observe some structures. Okay, and these structures, they are nothing but leaves. Okay, so you can observe the structures like this, and these are nothing but leaves. Okay, so these are many one. Let me take leaves. Okay, so along with the leaves, you can observe some structures, and these are also produces some leaves. Okay, so this structure is the branch. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಏನು ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ, it is considered as branch. Okay, so ಈ branching system, they could be found ಈ ಥರ ಇರಬಹುದು. Okay, then in some plants that branches are not yet developed. Instead, you can observe some structures which are at the junction. ನೋಡಿ, ಲೀಫ್ ಮತ್ತು ಶೂಟ್ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗೋ ಜಾಗ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ಮಿಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗೋ ಜಾಗ, ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಬಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಬಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಬಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, so this auxiliary bud, it can grows into branch actually. Okay, and sometimes instead of this auxiliary bud, you can observe one more kind of branch where it produces flower. ಈ ಥರ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, and some auxiliary branches were like that itself. Okay, and older one, these are the flowers actually. These are the flowers, and these are the buds. Okay, and older one, it could develop into a fruit. Take. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Then at the tip you can find some bud. Okay, so this is axillary bud, and this is shoot tip. This is a shoot tip or terminal bud. Okay, ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಟಿಪ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶೂಟ್ ಟಿಪ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಟರ್ಮಿನಲ್ ಬಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಒಂದು ಲೀಫ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗೋ ಜಾಗ ಇರ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಬಡ್. ಟಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಟರ್ಮಿನಲ್ ಬಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಬಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟರ್ಮಿನಲ್ ಬಡ್. ಓಕೆ, and so these are the branch I already told. This is the auxiliary bud, this is auxiliary bud, this is auxiliary bud, this is auxiliary bud. And here this auxiliary bud, instead of that auxiliary bud, it develops into a branch. It develops into a bunches of flower. So here these are flower bud. These are flower bud. So this is flower, and this is already developed into fruit. Okay, so these are the basic external features of the plant. So this is the overall morphological feature of the plant. So up to here it forms the shoot system, and this forms the root system. The first thing we notice when we look into the plant is only that shoot system. That shoot system consisting of different parts like stem, leaves, flowers, flower buds, then fruits, and of course inside they have seeds. Okay. So this is the basic feature of any plant. Okay. So now let us discuss with respect to the beginning from the root, how this root system is going to develop and how this shoot system is going to develop and what are all the modification we can observe in the plants. Let's see. So this is a typical flower with respect to angiosperm. It's a dicot plant. So the plant is almost look like Brassica nigra we call, that is mustard plant. It is a typical plant which is drawn to explain the different parts of the plant. Okay. Yeah. Then let us start with the seed structure, how to produce this shoot system and root system. Then we can begin with the actual parts. Okay. Yeah. So how did this primary root system and this primary shoot system is going to develop? Let's see. Suppose if you consider any beans, if you consider beans seed, the structure of a bean seed is almost look like this. Okay. If you soak this bean seed in water overnight, of course you could observe the same thing with respect to that green gram. ಹೆಸರು ಕಾಳನ್ನು ಮೊಳಕೆ ಬರ್ಸಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ಮನೇಲಿ ನೋಡಿರ್ತೀರ. ಸೊ ಹೆಸರು ಕಾಳನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿದಾಗ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿ ಒಂದು 2 days ಬಿಟ್ಟ ನಂತರ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟಿಂಗ್. ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟಿಂಗ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಮೊಳಕೆ ಹೊಡೆಯೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟಿಂಗ್. ಇದನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಸ್ಪ್ರೌಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. Then which part is came out like a sprout, and later what happens? So later this structure it enlarges, and if you put it in the soil, this structure came out of the soil. So ಇದು next stage ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದು it develops into shoot system. So let me explain that process first. After the beans or this pulse is soaked in the water, and after that the soaking overnight, you can easily peel off the external structure called as a seed coat. Okay. So ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಕೋಟಿಂಗ್ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು, ಅದನ್ನು ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ರಿಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಸಮ್ ವೈಟಿಶ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಇಂಟು 2 parts. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಇರೋವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಾಟಿಲೇಡಾನ್ಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಾಟಿಲೇಡಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ. ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟನ್ನು ಇಫ್ ಯು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಇಟ್, ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, so inside you can observe some structure like this. ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ. ಆ ಸೀಡ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ವೈಟಿಶ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ. ಓಕೆ. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇದು ಒಂದು ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಬದಲು ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಓಪನ್ ಇಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಕೇರ್ಫುಲಿ, can open it completely, and this one structure is attached to that part like this. ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರು ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್, of course if you completely remove one of the structure, it look like this, and if you carefully open it like this, you can observe some structure which is present like this inside. Okay. So this structure is embryo. Okay. So during that sprouting process, this part came outside first. ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಏನೇ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಬೈ ಅಂಡರ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಔಟ್. ಇದು ಈ ಥರ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. ದ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಔಟ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ರೂಟ್. ಇದನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ರೂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸೀಡಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಗ್ರಾಮನ್ನೇ ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಔಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ವೈಟ್ ಕಲರ್ದೊಂದು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅದೇನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಿಂದ ಏನು ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ರೈಟ್ ದಟ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಿಗೆ. ಅದು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟು ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪಾರ್ಟು ಈ ಥರ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ರೈಟ್ ಇನ್ ಲಿಟ್ಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ ಎನ್ಲಾರ್ಜ್ಡ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಮೇಲಕ್ಕೆ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ದ ಶೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ದ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಆ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಶೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಜರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಒನ್ಸ್ ದ ಸೀಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಡಿಕಲ್, ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ದ ವಾಟರ್. ಇದು ವಾಟರ್ನ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Then it helps in further germination or growth of the plant. Okay, so hope you understand how the structure is. ಇದನ್ನ ಸೀಡನ್ನ ಸಾಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮೀ ಶೋ ದ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್. When you soak the seed and put it in the soil, initially it produces this structure. So let me change color. So ಈ ಸೀಡ್ ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ವೈಟ್ ಕಲರ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. In the next stage, so these are the different stages you can observe during the germination process. Okay, then it starts produces some small branches. Okay, so at this stage this part came out of the soil. Okay, so ಇದಾಗಲೇ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Then here you can observe the structure like this. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. In the next stage this cotyledon splits. ಈ ಥರ cotyledon split ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Then you can observe the structure like this. Then it continues further and it shows the branches. Okay, so in the next stage it develops into and this cotyledon is appeared like this. Then root system grows extensively with branching. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. See the structure. So this is cotyledon. So this is cotyledon. This is cotyledon. This is cotyledon. This is also cotyledon. Okay, that cotyledon came out and this part, so this part represents this shoot system. So this is a shoot system, this is shoot system, this is shoot system. So let me not interrupt this. So this is the shoot. So this is the shoot, this is the shoot system, and this whole part is root system. Okay, the part which came out during the germination. So these are the successive stages. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಡಿಕಲ್. ಯಾವುದು ಜರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೋ ದಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಡಿಕಲ್. ದಿಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಡಿಕಲ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ರೈಸ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ರ್ಯಾಡಿಕಲ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ root system, and the structure which came out first, this forms the plumule. Plumule gives the shoot system. So this forms the shoot system. Okay, so these small structures are present in the root seed itself. I already told that. ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ you can observe some structure like this ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. Okay, so here this is plumule. This is a plumule and this is radical. See, they are very small structures. They are very small structure. They can be measured it can be measured only about 5 millimeter irutte. Okay, so less than 5 millimeter irutte. Okay, so that small structure, a embryo enirutte, this plumule after germination it gives shoot system. At the same time, this the structure which came out first, that is a radical, it gives root system. Okay, germination ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಫಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು radical, then plumule came out. ನೋಡಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ radical ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, then plumule came out ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು it starts produces the shoot system. Okay, so remember the part which produces a root system is radical. ಈ radical ಇಂದ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು actual root system. I am using the term actual root system. Okay, then the plumule ಇಂದ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು shoot system. After germination they are going to give the structures like this. So later ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆದಾಗ ಇದು ಬಿದ್ದೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. This cotyledon fall off and it grows into the huge plant like this in the beginning. Then remember the small seed, after completion of this process it can grows into a huge trees. ನೋಡಿ, ಬರೀ ಹರ್ಬೇಷಿಯಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ, ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಆಸ್ ದ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಟು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಇಂಟು ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಯುಕಲಿಪ್ಟಸ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು 200 ಮೀಟರ್ ತನಕನೂ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅದು. ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಸೀಡಿಂದ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವಂಡರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾ. So hope you understand the embryonal, this embryo consisting of two parts, plumule and radical. That radical produces the root system and the plumule produces the shoot system. This is the very basic thing you need to remember. Okay, so ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ radical and plumule ಅಂದ್ರೆ, it is present inside the seed as an embryo. ಈ radical ಮತ್ತೆ plumuleಗಳು, they are the parts of embryo. ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಮಿನಿಯೇಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್. ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಥರ ಇರೋ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀಫ್ ಥರ ಯಾವ್ದು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯೂಮ್ಯೂಲ್. ಒಂದು ಉದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಥರ ಏನು ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಾಡಿಕಲ್. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಸೀಡ್ ಜರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಔಟ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಜರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರಾಡಿಕಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ರಾಡಿಕಲ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ದ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. So hope you got how the seed is going to germinate and the shoot system and the root system is going to establish. And one more thing here, the shoot or root which came out, this is the primary root as already told. Okay, so this forms the primary root. ಅಂದರೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಇದೇನಿದೆ ಇದು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್. This primary root shows the branches. This becomes secondary root. ನೋಡಿ, ಇವೆರಡು ಈಗ secondary root ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So these are the secondary roots. So these are the secondary roots. These are all secondary roots. The branches which produced on the main root, ಆ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಮತ್ತೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ದೀಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ. ನೋಡಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಟರ್ಷರಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ takes place. Okay, so this is about the very basic thing regarding how the seed is get germinated, how that radical and plumule came out, and how the radicals develops into root system and how the plumule developed into shoot system. So here it forms that ಈ ಥರ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ, ಈ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಏನಿದೆ, The system which consisting of this primary and the secondary and tertiary root is called as tap root system. A primary root ಇರುವಂಥ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ ನಾವು ಟ್ಯಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಜರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಅನದರ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ seed also. If you put a seed in a soil, in the first stage, that small white structure came out. That is nothing but that radical, and gradually this system, and if you observe that, it do not shows the branches at all. Either on the green color, the structure initially it is not green color, it came out. Okay, so ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಸಿ ದ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ದ ಮೇನ್ root, that is called primary root, is present and it shows the branches. But here gradually that primary root disappears. Instead many branches are going to produce. So these branches, they are produced at the base of a stem. Okay, ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ this is the base of a stem. ಈ ಬೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಇಂದ ಈ ಥರ ಟ್ಯಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ ಬಂದು ಮೇನ್ ರೂಟ್ ಶೋಸ್ ದ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಇನ್ ಒನ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕೇಸ್ at the base of a main stem, ನೋಡಿ ಇದು ಬೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡಿ, ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ನ ಬೇಸ್ ಇದು. ಈ ಬೇಸಿಂದ ಮೆನಿ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆರಿಜಿನೇಟೆಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್, and there is no branches like ಇಲ್ಲಾಗಿರೋ ಥರ ಬ್ರಾಂಚಸ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. Okay, from a base of a leaf, base of a stem, from base of a stem numerous roots are produced. Okay, this kind of root system is called as fibrous, and this kind of root system which having primary, secondary and tertiary is called as taproot. Okay, then origin is same, they are produced from radical itself, but here the primary root, in this case primary root do not shows the branches and it disappears, and instead of the branching many roots are originated from the base of a stem itself. Okay, so usually primary root gradually disappear ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ many small roots are going to produce it again at the base of a stem, that produces huge number of roots like this without any branches. That system is called as fibrous root system, and where the primary root produces the branches like a primary, secondary and tertiary roots, that forms the taproot system. So here you can observe carefully. So this kind of root system is produced in dicot plants. Okay, and this kind of roots are produced in monocots. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾನೋಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಫೈಬ್ರಸ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಮೆನಿ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ರೀಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಡ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಫೈಬ್ರಸ್ root system, and this is taproot. So taproot as in case of dicots. Okay, so dicots ಅಲ್ಲಿ taproot system ಆಗುತ್ತೆ and monocots ಅಲ್ಲಿ fibrous root system ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Here primary root is replaced by huge number of roots which are produced at the base of a stem. Stem na base in the many roots are going to produce, that forms the fibrous. But in case of dicot, the main root called a primary root produces the branches that leads to form a taproot system. Here primary root is still present, but here this primary root is replaced by many numerous small roots that forms the fibrous root system. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let us discuss about the root system again a little bit more. Let us start with the root. I already discussed that root is a part of a plant produced from radical. Radical ಇಂದ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. If a radical produces primary root and primary root shows further branches, it forms taproot system. Okay, ಅದು ಮತ್ತೆ branches ಆಗಿ it can produce the taproot system. Okay, and if primary root replaced by many roots at the base of stem. Base of stem ನಲ್ಲಿ replace ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it become fibrous root system. Okay, so actual root system is produced from the radical. Radical is the initial part, or it is a precursor for the production of this root system. Okay, and in some cases, and you can observe that one also. In some plants, on the stem also, some roots are going to produce. Okay, so this is the stem and these are root. ನೋಡಿ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ above the soil also ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ರೂಟ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅಡ್ವೆಂಟಿಷಿಯಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಇಂಥ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಡ್ವೆಂಟಿಷಿಯಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈಗ 3 types ಆಫ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆದಂಗೆ ಆಯಿತು ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ. ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ಯಾಪ್ ರೂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, fibrous root system, another one is adventitious root. So ಏನದು adventitious root ಅಂದರೆ, okay, so I already told the root should be produced from radical, then only it is called as a true root system ಅಂತ. Okay, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ adventitious root ಅಂದರೆ it is deviate from that one. ಹೇಗೆ deviate ಅಂದರೆ root originate from any part of the plant, other than radical. Any part of the plant root na produce ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು other than the radical. Root originated from any part of the plant other than radical is called adventitious root is called as adventitious root. Okay, both the taproot and fibrous root, they are basically originated from a radical part. Other than that, any part of the plant if produces the root, it is called as adventitious roots. So usually adventitious roots are produced on stem. Okay, usually stem ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಈ ಥರ adventitious roots produce ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so ಈಗ primary root system ಇದೆ. Tap root systemಗೆ you can give the example of dicots. ಎಲ್ಲ dicots ಅಲ್ಲೂ usually they have this taproot system. ಅದೇ ಥರ fibrous root system they have observed in monocots. ಎಲ್ಲ monocots ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಈ fibrous root system ಇರುತ್ತೆ. You can remember that. Okay, then adventitious roots ಅನ್ನು produce ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ you can give some examples. Of course they could be observed in dicots as well. Dicots ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Like plant called monstera. ಮಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆರಾ ನೀವು ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಇದು ಜೀನಸ್ ನೇಮ್, ಅದು ಮಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆರಾ ಅದು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾಮನ್ ನೇಮ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಜೀನಸ್ ನೇಮ್ ಎರಡು ಒಂದೇನೆ. ದೆನ್ ಮನಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಮನಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ನ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ. ಸೊ ದೋಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅಡ್ವೆಂಟಿಷಿಯಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಇನ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಟ್ರೀ ಸಚ್ ಆಸ್ ಫೈಕಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಫೈಕಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಇನ್ ಬನಿಯಾನ್ ಟ್ರೀ. ಬನಿಯಾನ್ ಟ್ರೀನಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಟ್ರೀನಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಬನಿಯಾನ್ ಟ್ರೀ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಲದ ಮರ, ಪೀಪಲ್ ಟ್ರೀ ಅಂದರೆ ಅರಳಿ ಮರ. ಇಂಥಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆನೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದೋಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅಡ್ವೆಂಟಿಷಿಯಸ್ ರೂಟ್ಸ್. Okay, so this is about the different types of roots based on their origin. Remember, taproot and fibrous root both are originated from the radical, whereas adventitious roots they are not originated from radical. Okay.